They tried to silence him. They erased his name. But he rebuilt from nothing. He fought every algorithm. They tried again and failed. Now he's back, stronger. From blackout to spotlight, he's at the White House, at the top of his game. Franchi lives.
You are about to enter another dimension, the dimension of truth, unfiltered and uncensored. Welcome to the Raw Feed with Gary Franchi.
Shadows rise softly, softly turn sinister. He knew all of it.
If we don't expose Soros,
America floats next.
The Raw Feed starts now. Welcome to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, coming to you live from the heart of America. Unfiltered truth to millions on YouTube. Hit those donation links below. Every contribution powers our gear. Every contribution keeps the party going. Help me help you. Hit those donation links. YouTube channel memberships. Special acknowledgement in the fellowship. Your super chats keep me standing. Your rumble rants fuel every round.
Say hello to super chats.
Spread the intel. Every repost extends our reach.
Super chats fuel this spectacle. Your rumble rants give me strength.
24/7 members-only community, behind-the-scenes discussions.
Connect with fellow patriots.
My mama always said, life is like sharing the truth. Text this stream to your friends.
What if I told you the app is real? Download the Next News Network app. Android users, take the Google Play path. iPhone users, App Store awaits.
Tonight, the bill for the 4 years of Biden administration chaos has come due, and Americans are paying for it in blood.
Good evening, I'm Gary Franchi. This is the Raw Feed. And what you're about to see tonight is not ordinary news. This is a collision of scandals, corruption, and what many are now calling an active operation against the American Republic itself. And here's what struck me as I prepared for tonight's show. On this very date, December 1st, back in 1955, a seamstress named Rosa Parks boarded a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. In order to give up her seat to a white passenger, she refused. One woman, one act of defiance, and the entire corrupt system of Jim Crow began to crumble. Now let us remember who built that system. It was not Republicans, it was Democrats, the party of segregation, the party of Jim Crow, the party that fought to keep black Americans in chains and then in the back of the bus. Rosa Parks stood up against Democrat oppression. And if Rosa Parks were alive today, I believe she would look at a man who fights the corrupt machine, who refuses to back down when the elites tell him to sit down and shut up, who stands for the forgotten men and women of this country, and she would see a kindred spirit. Rosa Parks would have supported Donald Trump because both of them understood the same truth. You do not ask permission to be free. You demand it. 70 years later, we find ourselves in a similar moment. Americans are waking up to a rigged system against them. They're watching their government import danger, shield corruption, and silence anyone who dares to speak the truth. And just like Rosa Parks, millions are now saying no. No more. Not on our watch. So tonight we expose it all. We're going to begin with the aftermath of the terror at the gates of the White House. Last week, the day before Thanksgiving, an Afghan national brought into this country under Joe Biden's Operation Allies Welcome allegedly murdered a National Guard soldier and wounded another near Farragut Square. President Trump honored the fall in a somber White House gathering while his press secretary revealed this was not an isolated incident. Multiple Afghan nationals admitted under Biden have attacked Americans on our own soil. And then we will turn to Minnesota, where Governor Tim Walz is drowning in scandal. Hundreds of his own Department of Human Services employees are accusing him of covering up billions in fraud, retaliating against whistleblowers, and possibly allowing tax dollars to flow to the terrorist organization Al-Shabaab. Federal prosecutors have charged over 70 people. The DOJ is investigating, and Walz's own staff is now turning on him. From there, we examine President Trump's explosive comments on Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. The president didn't mince words. He said if she married her brother to commit immigration fraud, she should be thrown out of the country. The evidence has been public for years. The marriage documents exist. And now, with voter fraud investigations expanding across her district, Omar's political immunity may be finally crumbling. And then we'll close tonight with the most alarming story of all. A color revolution underway on American soil. Senator Eric Schmidt is sounding the alarm. General Michael Flynn has named former CIA Director John Brennan as the operational commander. The so-called seditious six are urging military officers to defy the commander-in-chief. This is the CIA playbook used to topple foreign governments, now aimed directly at President Trump. This is the Raw Feed. We don't sugarcoat it. We don't spin it. We give you the truth the mainstream media refuses to tell, and we connect the dots they don't want you to. Remember, Rosa Parks sat down and changed history, and tonight we stand up. So share the stream with a friend, drop your thoughts in the chat, and let's get to work and welcome you to the show. We got Mark Scott, Heather Reeve, Jeffrey Ross, Karen Finley, Tyson Curie, Bill's Rules, Deborah Gomez, Carl Privet, everyone lining up. Bobby Riesling in the house. Pothead Kenny is here. What's up, man? How are you? Hope you guys all had a wonderful Thanksgiving and gave thanks to the Lord for the blessings we have been given in this great nation of ours. I know I did. Who else is here? We got Betty Winters. We've got David Juris, Dave Wollenberg. Awful Workplaces is here. Tara Jane in the house. Diane Hewitt. Excuse me, Sam Frederick. Tara Janes. Everybody is lining up. I had an interesting weekend. I actually went to my 30th year high school reunion. That was something else to experience. Seeing all those faces again, sharing all the stories from all the antics that we pulled in high school. It was quite a moment, of course, another one to be thankful for. But we have lots of news to get to tonight, so I'm going to spare you the side stories and get right into it because I know that's why you're here. The day before Thanksgiving, an Afghan national opened fire on American soldiers just blocks from the White House. One is now dead. Another is still fighting for his life. And tonight, President Trump is demanding answers. Who let this man into the country? Who gave him access to our streets? And why did the Biden administration fly in thousands just like him with virtually no vetting? The answers will make your blood boil. But first, you need to understand how deep this goes. So before we begin, some hopeful news. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe, the guardsman still fighting for his life, has responded to nurses. West Virginia's governor says Andrew gave a thumbs up when asked if he could hear them, even wiggled his toes. Those prayers are working, America, so keep them coming. But sadly, Specialist Sarah Beckstrom did not make it. She was only 20 years old. She joined the West Virginia National Guard to serve her country. Assigned to the 863rd Military Police Company, 111th Engineer Brigade, last Wednesday, November 26th, near Farragut Square Metro Station. She was gunned down by a man who never should have been on American soil. She was pronounced dead at MedStar Washington Hospital on November 27th. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe, 24 years old, took bullets trying to protect his fellow soldiers. He remains hospitalized and in critical condition. The shooter, Rahmanullah Lakanwal, he's 29 years old. He was brought here under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome on September 8th, 2021. He reportedly served in a CIA-backed Afghan strike unit called Zero Unit. He was given a visa, given support, given access to everything that America offers. And when that visa expired, he simply overstayed. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed that he was one of thousands of unvetted Afghans mass paroled into the United States under Biden. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt today confirmed multiple other Afghans admitted under Biden have attempted or carried out attacks on American soil. Now, hold on. We do have some breaking news that is coming in. And while the Biden administration was busy flying in unvetted migrants, smart Americans were quietly protecting themselves. Reports are flooding in that silver now hitting all-time highs, and one company is positioned at the center of it. AmeriCorps Resources, trading as AMCOF in the United States and AMCO in Canada, just acquired the Trinity Silver Project from Newmont. And here's the kicker. Newmont is a $100 billion mining giant, became a shareholder in the deal. The stock still trades under 25 cents. With nearly 800,000 ounces already in stockpile, this could be the opportunity of a lifetime. When the government fails to protect you, protect yourself, the full details are at the link in the description, and we thank them for sponsoring this program. Now, here's what the mainstream media will not tell you. Lakanwal drove cross-country from his home in Bellingham, Washington, to carry out this attack. He used a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver in what U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro called a targeted attack. One National Guardsman, unarmed with a firearm, stabbed the shooter with a pocket knife. Another Guardsman responded and shot the attacker. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed virtually no vetting occurred under Operation Allies Welcome. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem revealed that Lakanwal was radicalized inside the United States through networks in his resettled community. Family members told investigators he suffered from PTSD and had been isolated for extended periods. The U.S. CIS has now halted all immigration processing for Afghan nationals pending a full security review. Now, here is the soldier who lost her life, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, a true American hero. She was only 20 years old. And interesting facts are now coming to surface. We had suspected this morning. Prior to the press briefing, we're going to get to some of the remarks from the press secretary. But we did make a post on X that I want to bring to your attention because it basically ties this whole thing together. The new details in the D.C. shooting expose Biden's foreign policy time bomb. New details have emerged about the shocking attack just yards from the White House where a National Guardsman was gunned down by an Afghan migrant. who reportedly served in a CIA-backed unit during the Biden-era war. It's horrifying, but it's not surprising. This is exactly what happens when a president treats America's enemies like charity cases and imports the fallout of his own foreign policy disasters into U.S. soil. Now, long before President Trump returned to office, Biden's reckless withdrawal from Afghanistan flooded America with individuals who had deep paramilitary backgrounds, some trained by intelligence services, others shaped by 2 decades of war. Washington told us they were vetted, but they were not. We were told it was safe. It wasn't. And now under President Trump, we're discovering the truth. The consequences of Biden's foreign policy collapse didn't stay in Kabul. They came to Washington, D.C. armed and angry. The same blowback we saw after the CIA's involvement in Afghanistan in the 80s. The seeds that helped produce Osama bin Laden has erupted again, this time in the form of a CIA-trained Afghan fighter allegedly murdering an American service member steps from the White House gates. Biden created the conditions for this. He resettled fighters from a war zone without proper scrutiny. He armed the Taliban with abandoned U.S. weapons, and he left President Trump to clean up a national security catastrophe that is now literally killing our service members on our own streets. This is not an isolated tragedy. It's a pattern. It is blowback, and it is the price of letting weak ideological leadership gamble with American lives. The American people deserve better than a foreign policy that turns our own capital into a battleground. Now, Biden may be out of office, but his failures are still putting Americans in the crosshairs. So we're going to get to some of the remarks here. Here is the press secretary earlier today that this is not the only example.
To fair, and unfortunately, this is not the only example of a dangerous Afghan who was let in by Joe Biden, who went on to harm the American people. There was an Afghan national who was let into the country under the Biden administration through Operation Allies Welcome, who shot and wounded 2 Fairfax, Virginia police officers during a routine traffic stop. He was killed by return fire after declaring, quote, "I should have served with the explicitive Taliban." 2 Afghan nationals were given legal status by the Biden administration as well, who were arrested and prosecuted for plotting a terrorist attack in Oklahoma just before Election Day in 2024. We all remember that. They possessed hundreds of rounds of ammunition and had pledged their allegiance to ISIS. There was also an Afghan national who was on the terror watch list who was apprehended by Border Patrol in 2024, but then he was released into our country by the Biden administration. Again, let's just highlight the absurdity of that. Border Patrol apprehended a terrorist, and then the Biden administration, because of their lax policies, still allowed him to come into the United States of America. I think everyone in this room, whether you want to admit it or not, does not want that individual living alongside you in your American neighborhood. And that individual was later arrested again after being allowed to live in the U.S. at large for over a year. Another one, a criminal illegal alien from Afghanistan, was arrested by ICE in 2025, convicted of second-degree assault, was previously allowed to stay in the country by the Biden administration. I have several more examples here. I'm happy to provide them to anyone in this room. And
several more examples. Oh, she has more examples. Don't you worry. Here is the White House Post 72 hours ago. This is part of the horrendous airlift from Afghanistan. Hundreds of thousands of people poured into our country, totally unvetted and unchecked. We will fix it, but we'll never forget what crooked Joe Biden and his thugs did to our country. President Trump posting that to Truth Social. Here's more from the press secretary addressing the terror attacks on the National Guard troops in D.C.
West Virginia, I would like to address the horrific tragedy that took place in our nation's capital that last week. A foreign terrorist that the Biden administration failed to properly vet ambushed 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard who were honorably serving here to keep the residents and visitors of Washington, D.C. safe. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe was severely wounded in the attack and remains hospitalized while he continues to fight for his life. Tragically, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died of her wounds. She was just 20 years old. President Trump and the entire White House are praying for Andrew's full recovery at the request of his parents and their personal phone call with the president over the weekend. And we are keeping Sarah's family and friends in our prayers during this unimaginably difficult time. Sarah and Andrew represent the very best of America. 2 young patriots who were willing to put on the uniform and risk their lives in defense of their fellow Americans. Both of them truly embody the profound words spoken by Jesus Christ in the gospel. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Sarah and Andrew are heroes, and we will never forget their sacrifice. That means ensuring the monster responsible for this atrocity is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and faces the most severe punishment possible. It also means reckoning with why this atrocity was allowed to happen in the first place, so that it may never occur again. I would like to address the horrific tragedy.
The Afghan illegal who shot National Guard troops in D.C. did not stumble into the attack by accident. He overstayed a visa issued under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome on September 8th, right after the botched Kabul pullout. Born in 96, he was last known to live in Washington State, thousands of miles from the capital. This was no local dispute. This was a calculated trip of terror, straight from the playbook of jihadist testing American resolve. American Allies Welcome was supposed to save a handful of interpreters who helped U.S. forces. Instead, Biden and Harris turned it into a free-for-all airlift, flying in over 100,000 Afghans with vetting so lax that terror watch list names slipped right through. Lakanwal was one of those, paroled, untracked, and free to plot while the administration patted itself on the back for humanitarian optics. Now American soldiers pay with their lives for that deliberate blindness. Worse, the shooter did not act alone in spirit. He crossed the country to strike at the heart of power, proving that enemies Biden imported are already practicing terrorism on U.S. soil. Tens of millions of illegals from cartel lands, jihad hotspots, and failed states still roam free, many military-age males with no allegiance to the flag. What follows this attack? Copycats in malls, markets, or streets, just like the Christmas market rampages left Germans in perpetual fear. With Thanksgiving gatherings underway last weekend, families should stay vigilant because the threats Biden unleashed do not take holidays off. Let's keep going here. We have some remarks from the president. Here he is just 24 hours ago on Air Force One.
Give you an update.
You've spoken with Andrew Wolfe lately. Can you give us an update on
I have spoken to both families. Well, I mean, I can give you an update. They're devastated. Does that make sense to you?
Of course. Okay.
They're devastated.
Can you give us an update on Andrew Wolfe?
Well, as you know, the one is no longer with us, and Andrew is fighting for his life. And his parents are unbelievably great people, highly religious people, and they're praying, and they want everybody to pray for Andrew, and he has a chance to make it, but he is, his mother and father, they were so unbelievable. They were so positive. From West Virginia, great state. I spoke with Sarah's parents, too, and the only thing I can say, they were devastated. They can't even believe it could happen.
You can't even believe it. We're going to continue here. We have some remarks from Pam Bondi. We have, I think we have some more from President Trump. We'll get to that here. Here he is. This is 4 days ago. He said the suspect is an Afghan national flown here with the previous administration. We have no greater national security priority than ensuring we have full control over the people that enter. We don't want them. There's another remark here that was made by the president. Where'd it go? I know I just had it here queued up. Where did it go? Maybe it's at the top. There it is. This is 3 hours ago. President Trump speaking at a White House Christmas party honoring the National Guardsman attack last week. Nick Sortor posting this.
He's looking down. I want to just pay my respects to the National Guard and those two incredible people. One is no longer with us. One is looking down and loves her parents. I spoke to her parents the other night, and she's looking down, and she's so proud of her country, and she's so loved her parents so much, and her parents couldn't believe what happened, could not believe it, what happened to their baby, what happened to their daughter. She's gone. And we have another one who's fighting for his life, as you know, and he's a fabulous young man, highest. Both of them were the best everything, the best of their class, the best of their class. And maybe he'll be okay. He's gone through a lot, but maybe he'll be okay. But I want to tell you what the National Guard's done, along with other people, including our military, to D.C. Just if we look at D.C., we have a safe city again. I want to just pay my respects.
We have a safe city again. However, Biden's foreign policy disaster is still wreaking havoc. The West Virginia National Guard 4 days ago posted, "We're devastated to confirm the death of our own Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, who was shot in the line of duty near Farragut Square Metro Station on Wednesday." So sad. Continuing right along with the remarks we have from, let's see, we had just played this one here. Let's go to Alina Habba, Afghan terrorist who shot 2 National Guard soldiers in D.C., was recruited and trained by the CIA before being flown into our country with the intent to murder members of our military.
Everybody. There are a lot of questions today about what we know about the suspect, what his ties were to the United States. We understand that he was working with the CIA in Afghanistan. I bring up again that image of folks clinging to airplanes as his chaotic withdrawal under President Biden was being carried out. Everybody was displaced everywhere, concerned about the Taliban coming in and the dangers that were lying ahead on the ground. But we didn't really think about the danger of bringing 80 to 100,000 people that we hadn't vetted properly into this country. And so if you were just able to say, well, I worked with the CIA and I was trying to help the Americans, you were brought over here. But we don't necessarily know that that was true.
I think what you're implying is that there was a stringent vetting process under the prior administration, and that in itself is flawed. There was no process. We were allowing open borders. We were allowing criminals to come into our country. And then there were individuals that were saying that this should be a safe harbor, a safe haven. Why? America is America because we protect our own. We don't allow this to happen. So when you say we, I want to be very clear. It is not a we. It is not the Trump administration. It was not Trump 1, and it is most certainly not Trump administration that is currently happening. It was the Biden administration that allowed this individual in, that didn't properly vet them, and now an individual who stepped in for someone on Thanksgiving so they could go home, who got sworn in the day prior, is now dead. A 20-year-old is dead. And that is why we fight so hard every day at this Department of Justice. That is why this Trump administration is completely focused on making our streets safer so that crimes like this that had no vetting should never happen. Never happen again.
Yeah, I appreciate you making that distinction, previous administration versus what we're dealing with now. President Trump is actually just trying to do his best to clean up this entire mess and keep Americans safe. It's something that America voted for: immigration, open borders.
That's certainly what we voted for. Pam Bondi, 24 hours ago on Fox News Sunday, discussing the animal who attacked our National Guard heroes in D.C.
Yeah, he had been here through Operation Allies Welcome Program, minimal to little vetting. I was on the phone last night with Secretary Kristi Noem at length. They did not do biometrics. They did not do social media. They did very little, if minimal, vetting on all of these people. And now to take a step back, we have a 1.5 million backlog of people that have come into our country. And as you said, these people are being radicalized. We know that this shooter who shot our National Guardsman in D.C. the day before Thanksgiving, he was radicalized. You're going to hear a lot more about that. And these people should not have been in our country, should have never been in our country under Joe Biden.
They should have never been here. Let's keep going. We have more from Pam Bondi.
They spent Thanksgiving. I've been on the phone with Melody and Jason. Those are Andy Wolfe's parents. These are wonderful people. They were at his bedside last night. They are at his bedside right now. They spent Thanksgiving at Andy's bedside. And Shannon, I just have to say this. We are a praying country, and we all have to pray for Andy's full recovery right now. He is a remarkable young man. He joined the Guard in 2019. His dad's a career police officer. He fought to keep our country safe, and now we have to pray to fight to get him back to 100% and do everything we can to support his family. I'm going to see his parents tonight. Wonderful people. And, you know, we lost Sarah. We lost Sarah to a terrorist attack in our country. That should not be happening in the United States of America. That's why Donald Trump closed our borders. That's why Donald Trump has cut off all of these people from coming into our country. We are going to protect Americans. I've been on the phone with Melody.
Let's keep going because we got some more remarks here. 4 days ago, a question was asked, where is his wife and 5 kids? National Guard shooter Rahmanullah Lakanwal arrived in the U.S. in 2021 with his wife, Camila, and 5 kids. This is the wacky couple, LJR Investigates writes. This wacky couple has blood on their hands. Stanley and Valerie Crichton from Bellingham, Washington. They housed the National Guard shooter along with his wife and 5 children. Lots of questions surrounding the humanity of this couple that let them stay in their mansion. This is Stanley and Valerie Crichton from Bellingham, Washington. They let the National Guard shooter live in their $2.7 million home. The Crichtons hate President Trump and hate Republicans. Here's apparently some images of them at the No Kings rally. No kings, no fascists, resist. Dressed like a cat. Look at that. And this resist sign. Here's a social media post from Valerie Crichton. So he's a monster. But then we already knew that. Despicable behavior. And she was referring to Donald Trump, of course. And this is the man himself, the alleged, who lived in their home. I think we have some pictures of their house, but we do have this here. 4 days ago, I remember this. In April, Afghan national Jamal Wali tried to kill 3 police officers in Fairfax, Virginia. Oh my goodness. I'm not even going to entertain this, but you can see the body cam footage. Horrific, guns drawn. Another Afghan national, as you could see, at the direction of the President of the United States, USCIS Director Joseph states, I've directed a full-scale, rigorous examination of every green card for every alien from every country of concern. Here is another one. Afghan national sentenced to 15 years in federal prison after plotting a 2024 election day terror attack on behalf of ISIS in the United States. 19-year-old Abdullah Hajzada was arrested by the FBI in Oklahoma. So this is not an isolated incident. This is only a matter of where one actually succeeded in their attack. President Trump, 4 days ago, referring to the individual.
Most cases, as you may know, DHS has confirmed that the suspect is an Afghan national flown here by the previous administration, who was such a bad administration. And I have a picture of a plane. This is what it looked like when they came in. It was total bedlam. Do you remember that period of time? Total bedlam. People crammed onto the plane. And the toughest, meanest, most capable physically got on the plane, not the people that we were looking for or that they wanted to bring in. Here's a picture for you. Just take a look at that plane. Standing on top of each other and sitting on top of each other. This is what we had under the Biden administration. That whole thing should have never, ever happened. They should have left.
Should have never happened. Okay, there's more on that family. The alleged National Guard shooter Rahmanullah Lakanwal once stayed in this $2.7 million home in Bellingham, Washington, owned by Stanley and Valerie Crichton. Crichton sponsored Lakanwal and his family in 2021 as part of Biden's Operation Allies Welcome program. They appear to be serial profiteers of the refugee industry and have sponsored other Afghan families and Syrian refugees too. The question being asked is, who is paying for all of this? Look at this house. Hey, yeah, you live in a third world shithole? Come on down and we'll sponsor you. You could live in our $2.7 million house while you get on your feet so you can plot your terror attacks. These must be real estate photos from the property and, of course, the family that allegedly kept these individuals. JLR Investigates. This guy did a hell of a job digging into this. And He asked the question, is Bellingham, Washington a central hub for Afghan refugees? An organization called World Reliefs, Whatcom County, has been based there since 2021, soliciting money. It appears National Guard shooter Rahmanullah Lakanwal arrived to the United States through this organization. World Relief's Whatcom County location was approved by the U.S. State Department in September of 21, shortly after the fall of Kabul, and amidst many Afghans arriving to the U.S., our team began welcoming refugees to Whatcom County. We're proud to have welcomed nearly 380 refugees to our community, and we've been able to offer aid to over 500 humanitarian parolees. Immigrant families need you this season. Our neighbors are facing fear, separation, and hunger. Will you stand with them? Okay, I mean, yes, we're all neighbors, but yeah, I'm not getting that. Bring people together. Together we can make Western Washington some of the most welcoming communities in the planet. Will you join us? Will you join us? President Trump announcing 4 days ago the passing of the specialist. Here's another question asked of President Trump. Do you blame all Afghans?
Look at him.
You've made changes for Afghanis' ability to apply for asylum. Do you blame all Afghans for this one man's
No, but we've had a lot of problems with Afghans because they had a lot of them coming in on these planes. Again, I show you this picture. We had a lot of them coming in on these planes that are, look at them. There was no checking. They just poured into the plane. And many of these people are criminals. Many of these people are people that shouldn't be here. And many of them have been gotten out. I mean, we've gotten out a lot of the people that, we've taken a lot of them out of here. But they came in, legally, right? Yeah, I know, this the old story. Many are wonderful, yeah, I'm sure.
I said many are here legally, though. What should they think in terms of their prospects?
Well, they can't be happy, okay? They can't be happy. Because what's taking place between that, if you look at Somalia, they're taking over Minnesota. And we got a lot of problems with the gangs, with all of the things taking place in Minnesota. We have an incompetent governor, we have a dope governor. They can't be happy about what's going on. And if you talk about the Afghans, there's a problem because so many Bedouins came in on the planes. They just walked in. Whoever the strongest people were physically in a way, but whoever the strongest, they got on the planes. There was no checking. They just swamped the planes. They took off. We had no idea who they were.
So President Trump was asked by a reporter why he blames the Biden administration. His response, immediate and brutal. Because they let him in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? They came in on a plane along with thousands of others who should not be here. And that's the raw truth. Sarah Beckstrom is now dead because Joe Biden prioritized global optics over American lives. And Secretary Kristi Noem says up to 100,000 Afghan nationals may now live inside this country with unknown backgrounds. How many more Biden-era time bombs are still buried out there waiting to explode? Now, the story matters because it proves what millions of Americans already knew. The Biden administration treated our homeland like a refugee experiment, and American citizens have now paid the price. A 20-year-old soldier is dead. Her family will spend Christmas planning a funeral instead of celebrating together. And the man who killed her was flown here, housed here, and supported here by policies designed by people who will never face consequences. President Trump has now slammed the brakes. Asylum adjudications pause, special immigrant visas pause, refugee admissions at essentially zero. A 19-country travel ban reinstated. All Afghan immigration cases halted pending security review. The era of blind trust is over, but for Sarah Beckstrom and her grieving parents, it comes too late. So here's my question for the comment section. Should every Afghan admitted under Operation Allies Welcome be completely revetted immediately or just simply sent back? Drop a yes or a no in the comments. You can support independent journalism by visiting Next News merch shop. It is linked in the description down below. such a sad story. And this is all blowback from that policy. So sad. Surprisingly, no super chats to speak of at the moment. We're going to hopefully hit our target tonight following our Thanksgiving weekend. I hope yours was beautiful. We got more news to get to here. And Brian, I'm going to do a hot swap on this device real quick and get this thing plugged in. We are at 100% now, just so you are aware. Get that plugged in here for you, Brian. Everything should be perfect now. Get that next topic open for everybody. We're going to move right along because we're just getting started here on the Raw feed. You're watching the Next News Network. It is 7:10 Central Time here in the Midwest. I'm just outside of Chicago. Where are you guys watching from? Love to hear it. Tell me where you're watching from and how you are watching in the chat room, your smart device, television, tablet, laptop, projection screen in your garage. However you're doing it, we want to know. And remember to hit that share button. Go ahead and tap subscribe. But most importantly, we want you to share the feed out to your friends. If you're watching on X, hit that repost. Watching on Facebook, share it out to your friends and family. Copy the link into your phone and text it to your friends. That's how we bypass the algorithms. Okay. Now we are going to move into the next topic here. Quite a bit from the press secretary today in the briefing room. We'll get to her remarks and more. Some more remarks from President Trump. Lots happening. Busy news day. So how many criminals did Joe Biden let into this country? Well, tonight we have the numbers, and they are worse than anyone imagined. New York City alone is harboring over 7,000 known criminal illegal aliens. Hundreds of them are murderers. Across the nation, fraud rings, terror plots, and violent predators are embedded in American communities, all of them welcomed under Joe Biden's open border policy. And the question nobody in Washington wants to answer is this: what happens when a government imports civilizations fundamentally incompatible with a free society? Well, Congressman Brandon Gill asked the question every American parent is thinking. Why are we bringing people into the United States from parts of the globe where predatory abuse of children is considered culturally acceptable? It's not rhetoric, this is reality. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt revealed that in Minnesota, 86 people have been charged in a massive fraud scheme. Of those 86, 78 are Somali nationals, refugees who came here claiming to free persecution, then turned around and robbed American taxpayers blind. New York City, over 7,000 known criminal aliens are being protected right now. Murderers, predators, gang members, all shielded by sanctuary policies. Afghan nationals brought in under Operation Allies Welcome have plotted terror attacks in Fairfax and Oklahoma. Venezuelan narco-terror networks are flooding American streets with drugs that kill our children. This is not immigration. This is an invasion dressed up as compassion, and Americans are dying because of it. We have some breaking news, though, on the financial front. As Biden's global chaos crashes into American cities, the smart money is moving very fast. Silver just broke through to new record highs, and insiders are piling into one company before the rest of the market catches on. AmeriCorps Resources, ticker AMCOF in the United States and AMCO in Canada, has locked down the historic Trinity Silver Project. It's in Nevada. Newmont, one of the largest mining companies on the planet, took a stake in that deal. Now, this is not speculation. This is a signal. The stock is still under 25 cents with 28 million ounces of historical silver data in the ground. When chaos reigns, hard assets win. You can get the full breakdown at the link in the description, and we thank them for sponsoring this program. So here is what the Trump administration is doing about it. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt announced the most aggressive immigration crackdown in American history, a travel ban on 19 countries, refugee admissions essentially at zero, all asylum adjudications paused, special immigrant visas paused, the same mechanism Biden used to fly in thousands of unvetted Afghans. And for the first time ever, green cards issued to nationals from countries of concern are being re-examined, every single one. President Trump made it clear if criminals were naturalized under Biden, he will denaturalize them. Reverse migration is now the official policy. Get them out. Every dangerous entrant removed, every NGO racket dismantled, every narco-terrorist group targeted with lethal force. Let's go first to Congressman Brandon Gill.
Case obvious. The question really isn't about how thorough was our vetting or were these people vetted properly. Obviously, they were not. That's why we're having terrorist attacks within our own borders. The real question is, why were they brought into the country to begin with? In other words, why are we bringing people into the United States from parts of the globe, for instance, where pederastic rape is considered culturally acceptable? I mean, that is utterly suicidal. We have to decide with our immigration policies, does this benefit the American people? And in this case, obviously it doesn't. The question really isn't
obviously. Here's more from the press secretary earlier today. Our cameras were in the room, captured this moment. Man, what does not add to our nation's character?
Off American. I'll tell you what does not add to our nation's character and integrity is refugees who come here under the alleged plight of asylum and fleeing persecution and then come to the United States to abuse our system and rip off American taxpayers. And as I pointed out, the New York Times, to their credit, it was about 6 months too late, but they did write about how Somali immigrants in Minnesota have been ripping off American taxpayers. In fact, 86 people have been charged in a rampant and widespread fraud scheme spanning multiple programs in Minnesota. Of those 86, 78 of those people are Somali, 91% of them charged. So far, 59 of those people have been convicted for their roles in fraud plots that have stolen $1 billion from taxpayers. In one scheme, and this is egregious, a nonprofit and its affiliates with these Somali migrants claimed to have fed tens of thousands of American children during the pandemic. They were reimbursed for those meals by taxpayers. However, federal prosecutors found that almost all of those meals were never even delivered to hungry children. In fact, those organizations' leaders spent the money on houses, luxury cars, and real estate in Turkey and Kenya. Another scheme involved hundreds of organizations who were reimbursed for services that were supposed to help people at risk of homelessness. Once again, those services were never provided. All of this has happened under Democrat leadership in a Democrat-run state where these refugees, these migrants are coming to the United States. They are abusing our system. They are draining our resources that should be going to law-abiding, taxpayer-funded, tax-paying Americans. And this president is not going to put up with it anymore.
No, the American people are not going to put up with it either. Here's more from the press secretary on pausing the adjudications on asylum.
Under the Biden, we have paused all asylum adjudications. And then, of course, the special immigrant visas, which we know many Afghans utilize to come into the country under the Biden administration, have also now been paused. And I would just point out one more time that the Biden administration was responsible for the original sin that led to this tragic killing last week, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was responsible for Operation Allies Welcome, which is something that this White House and the people behind this podium in the last administration fully and wholeheartedly embraced. And they assured the American people there would be no risk or no harm to them. And as I just laid out for you in those many examples, that unfortunately and tragically has not turned out to be the truth. Just ask the families of these two brave National Guardsmen, one who is no longer with us and one who continues to fight for his life. So I know the president is wholeheartedly focused on this effort, and I think unfortunately these events do remind us why it's so important that the president's mass deportation operation continues. We have paused.
Yeah, it does need to continue. All of it. Get them all out. Here's more. 6 hours ago, press secretary, past presidents have failed to ensure
illegal In the wake of last week's atrocity, it is more important than ever to finish carrying out the president's mass deportation operation. America cannot allow millions upon millions of unvetted illegal aliens to be rewarded with amnesty after they broke our nation's laws to come here. They must go back to their home countries. It is also essential to immediately address the massive fraud and corruption that has been going on for decades in other aspects of our immigration system, most notably when it comes to asylum claims. Millions of people who have come here under false pretenses are told blatant lies now enjoy temporary legal status. President Trump is ending this scam as well, and I would point out that the Democrats have tried to block this administration from doing so at every turn with lawsuit after lawsuit. The hard truth is that even when it comes to our legal immigration system, past presidents have failed to ensure that all prospective citizens love America, will add value and contribute to our communities, and will assimilate into our culture. Leaders have a duty to defend and advance the interests of their own people, not foreign nationals. Leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity. That is why President Trump is more committed than ever to fully restoring American sovereignty by keeping our borders secure, removing all illegal alien invaders, and rebuilding a legal immigration system that makes sense and benefits our country. President Trump has no higher responsibility than to defend our homeland and our people, and he will never waver in doing so.
Thank God he's president of the United States. Can you imagine if Kamala Harris was president right now? Whew. The Trump administration has done more to limit migration, both illegal and legal, than any administration in history.
And I'll just walk you. I would add that the Trump administration has done more to limit migration, both illegal and legal, than any administration in history. And I'll just walk you through some of the actions that we have taken thus far. Number one, the Trump administration issued a travel ban for 19 countries, including Afghanistan, special immigrant visas, which is a legal pathway to get here, which we know many Afghans have utilized to come into the country, have now been paused since the tragic shooting last week. Refugee admissions were suspended for Afghans from this administration on day one, and refugee admissions into the country right now are essentially at zero, with the exception of Afrikaners fleeing persecution in South Africa. The State Department has also heightened their scrutiny and vetting of all visas and have revoked visas, as you know, for those who do not align with our country's national interests. The Secretary of State has the right to do that, and we've taken unprecedented action to do just that. We are also now pausing all asylum adjudications for additional vetting as well. And so additional actions I don't have to read out for you today, but I would just remark that the president has made tremendous progress on this front, and it's why it's so crucial that we not only secure the borders, which the president did in record time. We have zero illegal aliens entering into the country month after month, but we also are taking a look at those who are already in the interior of our country and removing them if they are here illegally, and also taking a look at these visas. Again, having a visa in the United States is not a right, it is a privilege. And the Secretary of State, if you are deemed contrary to our country's foreign national interests, has the right to revoke that privilege. I would add that the Trump administration has done more to limit migration, both.
Moving right along here, talking about the narco-terrorist groups.
I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over. And so that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last, and it's one of the many reasons the American public re-elected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes. I have a...
Moving right along here, we have some more here. Laura Logan posted this. And again, what is the administration doing to hold these people accountable? 24 hours ago, Stephen Miller, the Democrat Party via the Biden-Harris terrorist administration. That's what he called them. The Biden-Harris terrorist administration devised a scheme. Oh, my goodness.
Which gives them a social it for your audience perfectly, Sean. This was not a loophole. The Biden administration, Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, devised a scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then to escort them en masse across the border by the millions, and to give them something known as parole, which gives them a work permit, which gives them a social security number, which gives them access to the voting booth. This was the plan all along, to get them here illegally so they can get free government benefits, get hooked to welfare, and be able to participate in American elections. This was an attack on democracy by the Democrat Party. It's the same attack that we see, Sean, when you have California, a sanctuary state, that is refusing to turn over even illegal alien criminals and gang members to ICE. So these are illegal aliens in California who have been arrested by California police, by California law enforcement for serious crimes, for crimes against children, for felonies, for crimes that threaten public safety, and they are refusing to hand these criminal illegal aliens over to ICE. Instead, they're freeing them back into the cities to offend and offend again. By any definition, what California is doing is criminal. It is a violation of our laws. It is one of the most heinous things that I have seen in my entire visit for your audience perfectly.
There's some red meat for you. Moving right along. So much to get through here in this segment. Here is Tricia McLaughlin, Assistant DHS Secretary. It is now confirmed New York City is harboring 7,169 known criminal illegals, including hundreds of, oh my.
The worst of the war of justice. We're seeing that these criminal illegal aliens are exiting the jails and going back onto New York or Chicago or these other sanctuary streets to re-perpetuate their crimes. Today, in New York City's jails are 7,169 criminal illegal aliens. We're talking about hundreds of murderers, hundreds of sexual predators, drug traffickers, the worst of the worst. Dan Goldman and these other sanctuary city politicians, they should agree to hand over those individuals, honor those detainers, and then we won't have to flood the zone with our ICE law enforcement. We won't have to put those men and women on the ground because we will get these vicious criminals out of New York City's jails.
Right. It's
a war of justice. We're seeing that these criminal...
Wow. Let's keep going here. President Trump on reverse migration on Air Force One.
What do you mean by reverse migration? It means get people out that are in our country, get them out of here. I want to get them out. We got a lot of people in our country that shouldn't be here, and they came in through Biden, and he was the worst president in the history of our country. But the single biggest thing he did was allow millions of people into our country that shouldn't be here. Drug dealers, prisons were opened up and allowed to come into our country. You take a look at the people that were allowed to come into our country. We're paying a big price for it, and we will for years to come, including the recent killer of two wonderful National Guards people. And I'll tell you what, that animal should not have been allowed to come into our country. What do you mean by reverse migration? It means...
Oh, but he came into the country because Joe Biden let him in. Here's more from the president 24 hours ago on Air Force One.
Mr. President, you said that you might denaturalize some American citizens. Can you talk about...
You mean people that are in here that shouldn't be here?
Well, that became Americans. Are you trying
Well, we'll see. I mean, yeah, we have criminals that came into our country and they were naturalized maybe through Biden was somebody that didn't know what they were doing. If I have the power to do it, I'm not sure that I do, but if I do, I would denaturalize absolutely.
Mr. President, you said that you might.
We got some more audio here. This is actually more audio 24 hours ago. How long does your administration plan to pause the asylum? This is President Trump gaggling Air Force One, November 30th of this year. Audio only. So
plenty of.
Your administration made a lot of moves throughout the last few days after we know that Afghan national is the suspected shooter of these National Guardsmen.
Yeah, the people that shouldn't be in our country. That's right.
So you announced that asylum.
And that includes Somalians and it includes plenty of others.
How long does your administration plan to pause asylum into the U.S.?
I think a long time.
Can you give any kind of time? What's
we
a
don't
long
want those
time?
people. We have enough problems. We don't want those people.
Is that a year, 2 years?
No time limit.
And then
but it could be a long time.
You said that
we don't want those people. Do you understand that?
I understand.
You understand that?
I understand.
Who are you with?
I'm with News Nation. Sir.
Okay,
My
News
name's
Nation.
Libby D.
News Nation. Great. Let me just tell you something. We don't want those people. Does that make sense? You know why we don't want them? Because many have been no good, and they shouldn't be in our country.
What do you mean by those people? Can you clarify?
People from different countries that are not friendly to us and countries that are out of control themselves. Countries like Somalia that have virtually no government, no military, no police. All they do is go around killing each other. Then they come into our country and tell us how to run our country. We don't want them.
Your administration.
Who do we know from Somalia, right? Checking in on One America News. District Judge James Boasberg has issued an order demanding certain Trump administration officials file affidavits. Order issued Friday. Targets involve every official involved in the decision to carry out mass deportation flights under the Alien Enemies Act. This District Judge Boasberg.
Administration of District Judge James Boasberg issues an order demanding that certain Trump administration officials file affidavits. The order was issued Friday and targets every official involved in the decision to carry out mass deportation flights under the Alien Enemies Act. This comes after Boasberg accused the administration of ignoring his order to halt the flights while they were in midair. Boasberg has said he will be moving forward with criminal contempt proceedings against administration officials.
Oh, really?
Despite this, several congressional GOP have called for Boasberg's removal from office for alleged misconduct and other allegations. District Judge.
Another radical judge trying to rein in the executive branch from a jurisdiction that he certainly shouldn't be. Here we have more. This is Secretary Noem 24 hours ago. Representative Eric Swalwell writes, though, "Hi, Secretary Noem. I'd like to introduce you to Representative Raskin and Benny Thompson. Are you going to be you're going to be spending a lot of time with them soon." Let's hear what Christy Noem has to say.
Sending detain. Secretary Noem, let me turn to my final topic. In a filing in federal court this week, the Justice Department said that when the administration was ordered back in March to stop sending detained migrants to a mega prison in El Salvador, you personally made the final call to continue the flights anyway. Is that correct? Do you acknowledge that?
You know, we have court filings going on and decisions that are going forward. I'll let them continue to play through that process.
But did you make that
I'm
call?
proud of President Trump and his leadership and the decisions that we have made. And the decisions that are made on deportations, where flights go and when they go, are my decision at the Department of Homeland Security. And we will continue to do the right thing and ensure that dangerous criminals are removed.
So that you're saying that it was your decision. It sounds like the judge wanted to ensure that people were given due process. He said very clearly, quote, any plane containing these folks that is going to take off or is in the air needs to be returned to the United States. But those people need to be returned to the United States. However that's accomplished, I leave to you. But this is something that you need to make sure is complied with immediately. Did you defy the court's order, Madam Secretary?
No, Kristen, and that's one of the things that we continue to face across this country is activist judges who are using radical decisions that have no standing and no grounds to try to stop what President Trump is doing to protect America and to keep us safe. So we'll continue to do the right thing, continue to work and do protect Americans, no matter what radical judge comes out and tries to stop us. We'll do the right thing and know that we're on the side of the law, the side of the Constitution, and the side of the American people.
And the right side of history, I should point out. Yeah. Biden was allowing our country to be infiltrated with people that we didn't know who they were. We could have up, she says, Christy Noem, we could have up to 100,000 people came in from Afghanistan that may be here to do us harm, and President Trump is absolutely dedicated to getting them out. She was asked, will you deport people with pending asylum claims? She says, well, we will. If they should be, absolutely, yes, we're going to go through every single person who has a pending asylum claim. Pam Bondi on the Venezuelan narco-terrorists.
President Trump, we are committed to taking out these narco terrorists. President Trump is, Marco Rubio is, our entire administration. And that goes back to Joe Biden letting these foreign terrorist organizations walk into our country, come into our country through Mexico. They are narco terrorists. What you're showing on the screen right now are terrorists, and they are being blown up. We are not going to agree. You know, these Democrats don't want to agree with us. It's crazy. The drugs that are flowing into our country from these terrorists are killing our children. And if Donald Trump won't protect, if the Democrats won't protect our children, Donald Trump will, by any means we need to, within the legal realm of our society. And that's what we're doing. As far as a classified memo, I'm not going to discuss that, but I will say Venezuelan drug dealers need to tread very, very carefully, because if you are a narco-terrorist, if you are a TDA, we are coming after you. President Trump has made that crystal clear. No more will they be coming into our country thanks to Joe Biden. No more will they be killing our kids with this poison that is flowing into our country from Venezuela, from Mexico, from all of these other countries, fentanyl being made in China. That's what this is about, protecting Americans.
So President Trump was asked about criminals who gained citizenship under Biden. His answer left no room for doubt. If I have the power to do it, I would denaturalize absolutely. Then he explained what reverse migration means. It means get people out that are in our country. Get them out of here. We've got a lot of people in our country that should not be here, and they came in through Biden. We're paying the price, a big one for it. The era of imported chaos is over. The floodgates are closing, and the criminals Biden welcomed are about to learn what American justice looks like. So the story matters because it exposes the single greatest betrayal of the American people in modern history. Joe Biden did not just open the border. He opened America to criminal networks, terrorist ideologies, and predatory cultures that have no place in a free society. He flooded our cities with people who exploit our systems, harm our children, and kill our citizens, and he did it on purpose. It was not incompetence, it was policy. A doctrine that says America exists to be remade through mass importation of foreign populations with no loyalty to our laws, our values, or our people. Well, President Trump shutting it down. Travel bans, deportation, denaturalizations, lethal targeting of narco-terrorists. The fight to reclaim the homeland has begun. So here's my question. Should sanctuary cities lose all federal funding when they cooperate? Until they cooperate with deportations? Yes or no? Answer in the comments. And if you want to support our work, grab your gear. The Next News merch shop, you'll find it linked down below. All right, quite a few super chats have come through. Thanks, guys, for supporting the show. We got Trish, who just dropped $10. Love your work, Gary. Thank you, Trish. Appreciate you. And then we have this from Christy X, God, family, country. Only my enemies are against that. Amen. $5. And Stephen Mills, get the unvetted out. Send any judge with them that tries to stop Trump from protecting us all. $20. Thank you so much for that. And Trish came back with another 10. To do my duty for my country and Trump administration, I will restudy the Constitution. Well, thank you for that, Trish. We're at $45 in Super Chats, $55 away from our goal tonight. We're in the second topic of the Raw feed on the Next News Network. You're watching us on all platforms, YouTube. We're on X. We're on Facebook. We're even on LinkedIn. We're even on Instagram. Where else are we? X, LinkedIn, Facebook. Oh, and Rumble, of course. We're on Rumble right now as well. So make sure you're following us on all platforms. Let's head over and check out what's going on with Tampon Timmy. Yeah, some bad news for Tampon Timmy. Oh boy. Another bullet dodged. Oh, and another super chat just came in. Let's check that real quick. Salty Nationalist is here, dropping $20. Thank you. Get everyone out. Reclaim our land as America again. I'm not stopping just at illegals. Even the East Indians are at it. East Indians? Am I missing something? Sorry, I'm getting messages from my management team in Los Angeles here. Sorry. Okay. Where are we at? All right, so let's find out. Let's continue. We've got to move right here. Ah, yes. Yes. A little sip here from my Never Surrender mug. God bless America. God bless President Trump. All right. I'm ready to go, Brian. Kamala Harris picked Tim Walz to be one heartbeat away from the presidency. Tonight, that decision looks like it was certainly a bad move, because hundreds of Minnesota state employees are now turning on their own governor. Whistleblowers are coming forward with explosive accusations. Federal prosecutors are now filing charges, and the number being thrown around is not millions of dollars stolen, it's billions with a B. The man Democrats wanted in the White House is now at the center of what may be the largest taxpayer fraud scheme in American history. And yes, there is a terrorist connection, too, that you need to hear. You see, Governor Tim Walz is drowning. Blaze Media has confirmed that the theft from Minnesota's Somali community networks is not in the millions. Yes, it is in the billions. For years, a sprawling fraud operation ran wild throughout the state. Fake daycare programs, phantom food aid schemes, bogus disability filings, COVID emergency grants siphoned off by the truckload, all of it happening in a neighborhood called Little Mogadishu in Minneapolis. And all of it happening on Tim Walz's watch. But here's where it gets criminal. Over 400 whistleblowers inside the Minnesota Department of Human Services are now publicly accusing Walz of ignoring their warnings. They say he shut down investigations. They say he threatened employees who raised red flags. They say he disempowered the state auditor to prevent oversight. One insider described it this way. It was like somebody was stealing money from the cookie jar and they just kept refilling it. Federal prosecutors have now charged 78 people in the Feeding Our Future scheme alone, involving over $250 million. 71 of those charged are of East African descent. And the DOJ has opened an investigation into whether Minnesota taxpayer dollars ended up funding Al-Shabaab, the Somali terrorist organization. And now we interrupt with some breaking financial news. While Tim Walz let billions vanish from Minnesota's coffers, one investment is doing the exact opposite. Silver prices just shattered records, and a little-known company in Nevada is sitting on a gold mine. Well, actually a silver mine. AmeriCorps Resources, trading as AMCOF and AMCO, has acquired the Trinity Silver Project from Newmont. Yeah, That's 5 million ounces already produced, and historical data pointing to 28 million more in the ground. Now, Newmont became a shareholder. The stock trades under 25 cents right now. And when politicians steal your future, you need to build your own. And this is the kind of story that Wall Street does not want you to hear. The full details are in the description, and we thank them for sponsoring this program. Now, the whistleblower exposure has gone completely nuclear. A post from the Minnesota DHS employees accusing Walz of covering up massive fraud has now hit over 22 million views. The actor, James Woods, he weighed in. He said Walz is not going to survive his own government employees blowing the whistle on his corruption en masse. Fox News is reporting hundreds of DHS employees are on record accusing the governor of retaliating against those who tried to stop the theft. When Walz was confronted about the scandal on Meet the Press, his response was pathetic. He said he takes responsibility for putting people in jail and then tried to deflect by claiming it's not just the Somalis, but the numbers don't lie. This is systemic. This is organized, and Walz let it happen. But of course, everyone wants to focus on what President Trump called Tim Walz. Yes, he called him a retard. That's what he said. Apparently, you can't say that word anymore. Do you stand by the claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Calling Tim Walz retarded? Yeah. In that same post, you mentioned Tim Walz, and you called him what many Americans do find an offensive word, retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with it. Absolutely, sure.
Because you don't think that...
You have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with him. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into his state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz.
Yeah, President Trump standing by, calling Tim Walz a retard. The DOJ has opened an investigation into how taxpayer dollars ended up funding Somali terrorist group Al-Shabaab. Whistleblowers say Tim Walz retaliated against them by threatening their jobs. Here's more from Fox breaking the story.
Taxpayer terror group linked to Al-Qaeda. Justice Department says it will take a look. National correspondent Jeff Paul has details.
They're calling for an investigation. 4 Minnesota Congress members addressing the state's U.S. attorney, demanding answers after a report claimed taxpayer dollars were ending up in the hands of Somali terror group Al-Shabaab.
If you're paying taxes for services you expect and things you expect your state government to provide, those taxes should not be going to a terrorist group in a foreign country.
House Majority Whip Tom Emmer is referencing this article written by urban policy magazine City Journal, which is published by a conservative think tank, the Manhattan Institute. Citing unnamed sources, the report alleges funding that was supposed to go to state programs to help with housing and feeding people was being stolen. Without specifying an amount, the article claims some of that money was then sent to Somalia through a complex network where it eventually ends up aiding the Al-Qaeda-linked terror group.
This is a huge black eye to the nonprofit community. There was lack of oversight. There's criminal intent.
Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar spoke at the state's capitol yesterday with other state leaders. She didn't directly mention the allegations of the report, but responded to Trump's announcement last week that he was terminating temporary protected status for Somalis in the state. Trump writing that Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of Minnesota.
There is not a single evidence that the president or his coonies have put forth that there are any single resource from taxpayers in Minnesota that has gone to aid and abet terrorism. That language is dangerous.
We reached out to the Justice Department about the allegations. A DOJ official tells us the department takes fraud of any kind extremely seriously, and this referral will be thoroughly investigated.
You know, Ilhan's sweating under that hijab right now. A scandal is engulfing Kamala's deadweight running mate Tim Walz in Minnesota. Scott Jennings breaking it down. He says the details are stunning.
Taxpayer money. Why? We're going to start in Minnesota, where a scandal
is engulfing Democratic Governor Tim Walz. And we have to start with acknowledging the dogged reporting of Christopher Rufo on this. He broke the story, and he's forcing the mainstream media to follow it. The situation involves fraud across multiple sectors of the Minnesota state government, with taxpayer money winding up in some truly horrendous hands. It begins with the state's Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services, or HSS, which allows for Medicaid funding to be used for housing. Now, when it started in 2020, the cost of this was $2.1 million. Next year, it was $21 million. Next year, $42, then $74, and finally, a $61 million program in the first half of 2025 alone. The program was shut down on August 1st of this year due to at least 77 payments having credible allegations of fraud. After that happened on September the 18th, 6 Somalians in Minneapolis were indicted over this HSS fraud. Federal charges were brought by the U.S. attorney there. This was just the first round of his indictments. Now, the crimes here are severe. It wasn't just typical Medicare or Medicaid fraud. In these instances, whole entire companies were being fabricated in order to take payments and steal funds. The same day that these fraudsters were indicted, another person from the Somalian community there pleaded guilty in a case called the Feeding Our Families case. Feeding Our Families was a nonprofit primarily run by people in the Somali community in Minneapolis. They embezzled $250 million of relief hunger funds. This was one of the largest of the COVID-era fraud schemes. Just 6 days after this round of indictments went down, another one was served, this time for a woman named Asha Farhan Hassan, also from Minneapolis. She was involved in a $14 million fraud against the state. Now, here's what she would do: approach families in the community and have their children registered into autism therapy services, regardless if they had autism or not. Parents who took part in that scheme were given monthly kickbacks of somewhere between $300 and $1,500. Between 2018 and 2023, autism claims to HSS in Minnesota went from $3 million to start to a whopping $400 million. Providers went from 41 providers to 328 providers in the same period. Many of these were new centers for autism treatment. So there's all this fraud to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, all sorts of indictments. And you're probably asking yourself, where did all this money go? If only it were as simple as fancy cars and expensive jewelry, but it's not. It looks like it may have wound up in the hands of terrorists. Al-Shabaab, to be exact.
Oh, yes, the cards are falling. Blaze Media confirming it's not millions of dollars the people of Somalia have stolen. In Minnesota, it's billions.
Extraordinary. So over the last 10 years, Minnesota's Somali community, it's about 100,000 people, mostly in Minneapolis, a neighborhood called Little Mogadishu, for obvious reasons, has been conducting fraud at an eye-popping scale. I mean, truly extraordinary. We're talking about billions of dollars, billions with a B, that are getting sucked out of taxpayer programs, routed through various fake NGOs, into the pockets of Somalis in Minnesota. But one detail that we uncovered, they're actually taking bags of cash, taking them on commercial airplanes out of Seattle, out of Minneapolis, out of other airports, flying this cash to Mogadishu, where it's dispersed through a network of informal money changers. The Al-Shabaab terrorists take a cut. And it's like every government program imaginable, they're setting up these front organizations: autism, social services, feeding the hungry. And they're pulling in, tens of millions, if now not hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And the other kind of dirty secret of this story is that the Minnesota state government, the Democrats who are in charge, Tim Walz and others, have effectively turned a blind eye to this because they don't want to offend the Somalis. They don't want to, earn the accusation of racism. What the Somali activists are very ready and very eager to deploy. And they feel that they need the Somali vote in Minneapolis to win statewide. And I hope that the story will have some impact on the particular level, meaning law enforcement, which has been doing a good job rounding up some of these groups, will extend their efforts, but also opening up these larger questions about immigration, about identity, about who we let into the country, what are our expectations. This should be an obvious one, right? You can't steal billions of dollars from taxpayers. That's like a no.
Yeah, no, but if you're Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let's see here. I want to find, this is 24 hours ago. Minnesota staff fraud reporting community. Tim Walz is 100% responsible for massive fraud in Minnesota. We let Tim Walz know of fraud early on, hoping for a partnership and stopping fraud. But no, we got the opposite response. Tim Walz systematically retaliated against whistleblowers using monitoring threats, repression, and did his best to discredit fraud reports. Instead of partnership, we got the full weight of retaliation by Tim Walz. Certain DFL members and indifferent mainstream media, it's scary, isolating, and left us wondering who we can turn to. In addition to retaliating against whistleblower, Tim Walz disempowered the Office of Legislative Auditor, allowing agencies to disregard their audit findings and guidance. Media and politicians supporting Tim Walz for the DFL agenda attack whistleblowers who are trying to raise red flags on fraudulent activities. This is a cascade of systematic failures leading to Tim Walz. Agency leadership appointed by Tim Walz willfully disregarded rules and laws to keep fraud reports quiet, even to the extent of threatening families of whistleblowers. Same leaders are not qualified for their jobs, instead of getting leadership jobs via Tim Walz's friendship, so state government were left floundering. DFL lawmakers refused to acknowledge fraud and deflected any serious conversation to stop it. Biased mainstream media reports such as WCCO and NPR show absolutely no interest in covering fraud happening in our own state. Programs, especially in behavioral health and disability services, were built without any guardrails against fraud on an attempt to extract more funding from legislature and the federal government. As staff, we firsthand witnessed and observed fraud happening, yet we were shut down, reassigned, and told to keep quiet, sometimes more. Leadership did not want to appear to discriminate against certain communities and were unwilling to take action such as stopping fraud that would have had adverse impact on their image. And to date, no single agency leader has been held responsible for their role in fraud, whether it's Shireen Gandhi, Jess Gill, Jody Harpstead, Natasha Mers, Eric Grumdahl, or others. It is a structure created and maintained by Tim Walz, who has created an environment of interrelated agencies and institutions, including the media, that help foster fraud through retaliation and turning a blind eye in exchange for political gain in the form of high-power agency leadership jobs or perks. Fundamentally, Tim Walz is dishonest, lacks ethics and integrity, has poor leadership abilities, and has never taken any accountability for his role in the fraud. Instead, he deflects by blaming national politics for his own failings and distracts the public with inverted lying. These lies include his reference of budget surplus under his tenure, and it goes on and on and on. New York Times headline, How Fraud Swamped Minnesota's Social Services System on Tim Walz Watch. That's the headline on the New York Times. James Woods, he's not going to survive his own government employees joining together and blowing the whistle on his corruption. Fox News 24 hours ago, 100% responsible, hundreds Minnesota DHS employees accusing Walz of ignoring warnings about massive fraud and retaliating against whistleblowers. A post from the Minnesota Department of Human Services employees accusing Walz of covering up massive fraud has 22 million views. The dude is screwed. It will only get worse. Resign and do not seek re-election, or voters must be prepared to kick this buffoon out of office. Minnesota staff fraud. Here's Tim Walz, Tampon Tim. Rapid response 47. Tampon Tim Walz, the seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, says it's a badge of honor to be one of the most incompetent, inept, and pathetic governors in American history.
Look, Donald Trump insulting me is a badge of honor for me, but I think we all know, as both as an educator for a couple decades and as a parent, using that term is just so damaging. It's hurtful. Look, Donald Trump insulting me.
Cry me a river, man. Cry me a river. Here is the list of 75 individuals charged so far in the massive $1 billion fraud scandal that unfolded on Tampon Tim's watch. Rapid Response 47 writing that. The following individuals are named in the indictment: United States versus Amy Marie Bach. Wow. I'm just going to scroll through this because there's a lot here. Amy Marie Bach. Not even going to try to pronounce that. Not going to pronounce that. Yeah, not going to try to pronounce that one. Yeah, not going to pronounce that one. Not going to try that one either. Yeah, just not even going to attempt it. No. Oh my goodness, the list keeps going on and on. These are all the people who've been indicted. Just look at the screen. Another one. How many? Jeez. I'm just going to scroll. You can see, look, it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Oh my goodness, look at it. It just keeps going. Whew. Who's been charged in the Feeding Our Future fraud investigation? The Sahan Journal. 78 people for an array of crimes, including conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering. So President Trump, he was asked if he stands by calling Tim Walz retarded. His answer
what many Americans do find an offensive word, retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely.
Simple and direct. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz. And he's right. Because what kind of governor watches billions vanish into fraud networks, receives warnings from his own employees, and responds by threatening the whistleblowers? How much was ending up in his pocket? How much was ending up in Ilhan's pocket? What kind of leader disempowers the state auditor while terrorist-linked money flows out of his own state? Tim Walz is not just incompetent, he is complicit. Kamala Harris wanted this man to be vice president of the United States, so let that sink in for just a minute. Imagine the fraud that would be going on if he was vice president. The story matters because it exposes the rot at the heart of the Democrat Party. Tim Walz was not some random governor. He was Kamala Harris' hand-picked running mate, the man that she trusted to help lead America. While he was auditioning for the White House, billions of taxpayer dollars were being stolen on his watch. Whistleblowers being silenced, investigators being blocked, and American money may have flowed directly to Al-Shabaab terrorists. This is not a policy failure. This is a scandal of historic proportions. The DHS employees who came forward, they're the heroes. They risked their careers to expose the truth, and now the American people know exactly what kind of leader Tim Walz really is. Here's my question for you. Should Tim Walz face criminal investigation for his role in covering up this fraud? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments, and you can show your support by grabbing some gear at the Next News merch shop. You will find it in the description. Whew. Tim Walz, Tampon Timmy. Holy cow, we're at $85 in super chats. Something happened. We got to find out. We got to investigate. Where are we at here? Holy cow. Okay. So Salty Nationalist, back about 21 minutes ago, made a reference to East Indians. I didn't know what that reference was. And then Jeffrey Ross writes, East India reference in the immortal words of Jay-Z, red dot, not feather. I get it. Okay. All right. And then we got a bunch of members that just came through. How nice. We got Salty Nationalists, Gifted 5. We have this one here from Conga Joel, became a member as well. Welcome to the family. Salty Nationalist, gifted even more. Wow, we're at 12 new members today. This is cool. And another one from here. Who is this? Keel for Real became a member. What's up? Now that you guys are members, you can hang out in the Discord 24/7 with the rest of the members. Have some nice conversation. They do video chats. I'll pop in from time to time. When I have time. I don't have time, but when I do, I enjoy it. It's really great hanging out with you guys. And look, Opus Focus just dropped $49.99. Thank you for your continued hard work and dedication to keep us informed. It's about time the evil gets exposed and removed from our planet. Thank God I live here in the USA. Legally, I might add. Opus Focus, thank you so much for that. We're now at $134.99. We've gone way past our goal tonight, which is beautiful. I can't wait to tell Angie. She'll be so happy. Maybe we'll hit 150. That would be even better. Of course, we have to move the goalpost. Why not, right? If we can hit it, we will. So we've got to continue the conversation about what is going on with respect to Ilhan Omar, because President Trump, he's not holding back some serious allegations that you and I have known forever, guys. We've known this. We've reported on it. But it sounds like it's starting to finally sink in. And this is a good thing. So, Brian, let's get into this next topic because, we're talking about Minnesota. We got to talk about the other crook in Minnesota. From one crook to the next. President Trump just said what millions of Americans have been thinking for years. If Ilhan Omar married her own brother to commit immigration fraud, throw her the hell out of the country. Those were his exact words, and tonight the evidence that has been circulating for years is finally getting the spotlight that it deserves. Marriage documents, immigration records, overlapping addresses, a trail of alleged fraud so blatant it would land any ordinary American in prison. But Omar is not ordinary, and she is being protected until now. And of course, she's sweating under that hijab. But let me be clear about what's actually being alleged here. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar allegedly married her biological brother, Ahmed Noor Said Elmi, to help him gain United States citizenship. Marriage records have been made public, showing the union in 2009. The timelines have raised questions for years, and if true, this is not a minor paperwork error. This could be felony immigration fraud, tax fraud, perjury, student loan fraud, passport fraud, and yes, bigamy. All rolled into one shiny package that President Trump is about to unwrap. Yes, he addressed it directly on December 1st at the White House and said she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother, and if that is true, she should not be a congresswoman, and we should throw her the hell out of the country. Omar has repeatedly denied these allegations, calling them absurd and offensive, but citizens across America are connecting the dots. Because the controversy does not exist in a vacuum. It exists alongside a massive voter fraud investigation now tying Somali communities to fake registrations across 13 Minnesota counties, including Omar's own district. And we do have some breaking news that is just crossing. While politicians like Ilhan Omar allegedly game the system, hardworking Americans are finding a way to fight back financially. Silver just hit an all-time high. One company is making headlines. AmeriCorps Resources, ticker AMCOF in the United States and AMCO in Canada, just secured the Trinity Silver Project in Nevada. The previous owner, Newmont, the $100 billion mining giant, just liked the deal so much that they took a stake. Nearly 800,000 ounces already stockpiled at $50 silver. That's $40 million in contained metal. And the stock, guess what? It's still under 25 cents. When the system is rigged, you find your own edge. You'll find the link in the description down below. We thank them for supporting this program. Now, the Minnesota news cycle is a firestorm. The Somali-run voter fraud ring has now been uncovered across 13 counties. Fake names, fake addresses, fraudulent ballots pumped into Democrat elections. Blaze Media confirming billions stolen through Somali welfare, daycare, and COVID fraud networks. The DOJ is investigating whether taxpayer dollars flowed to the Al-Shabaab terrorists, and the center of it all sits Ilhan Omar's district. But when confronted, Omar plays the victim card. She claims that there's hate everywhere for Muslims and black women and immigrants. She says she checks all of those boxes. Translation? When caught, weaponize identity. When cornered, cry racism. But Americans aren't buying anymore. All those victimhood cries are falling on deaf ears because they've used them so much they have no meaning anymore. They once did. People once cared about them. But not when you cry wolf every single day. You see, in her marriage documents, they've been public for years. And under this administration, the political immunity Omar once enjoyed may finally be crumbling. We have this from 4 hours ago. Trump reignites the Ilhan Omar marriage controversy, saying, throw her the hell out. Well, if it's true, she shouldn't be a congresswoman, and we should throw her the hell out of the country. The words of our great commander-in-chief on Ilhan Omar. Salty Goat 24 hours ago. People hate Ilhan Omar because she's an ungrateful, traitorous bitch that hates this country, not because of the color of her skin or her religion. It's true. I don't care if she's a woman. I don't care if she's a Muslim. What I care about is the rhetoric that comes out of your mouth. Some people did something. Remember that? Oh, we'll never forget that. Some people did something. Well, some people did something when they married their brother. Ilhan Omar's victim card meltdown 24 hours ago with Caitlin Collins. There's hate everywhere. Hate everywhere, and I check all the boxes.
Why do you think Nancy Mace is targeting you as much as she is?
It's an easy clickbait. There is a lot of hate in this country for Muslims. There's a lot of hate in this country for black people, especially black women. And there is a lot of hate, severe hate for immigrants. And so I fit them all. She knows that she can easily raise money and get support for her bigotry from her bigoted, the bigoted people who want to give money to her campaign. But the reality is, in this country, the First Amendment does not only protect speech, it protects the right and liberty for anybody to practice their faith. I do practice the Muslim faith. I am an immigrant. I am proud of both of those things. And I was, of course, born in Somalia, which the president likes to mention. And I'm also proud of my Somali heritage. And that is not something that they can take away from me. And I just want to say, one thing that the president should understand is that you can't impeach a sitting member of Congress. And it is unfortunate that the members of Congress have not educated their uneducated president about how things work in Congress.
Well, we can revoke your citizenship and send you back to the place that you're so proud to be from. 13 hours ago. Breaking news, voter fraud case in Minnesota ties Somali communities with registering fake Democrats, fake names, addresses created for hundreds of voter applications submitted to election offices, 13 unnamed counties, including Ilhan Omar's district, paid for by an unnamed foundation to help register voters. Here is CBS News Minnesota.
Voter registration allegations in a Minnesota voter fraud case that first came to light this summer. 2 people pleaded guilty in federal court to being paid to help register voters. In all, 500 to 600 fraudulent voter registration applications were submitted to election officials in offices in 13 Minnesota counties. Esme Murphy has been following this case, and she joins us now. Esme?
Hi there, Frank. It was some sharp election workers in Carver County who realized the names and addresses on the voter registration forms did not match with any county residents. Prosecutors charged 2 people with 1 count each of voter registration fraud. According to the charging documents, the 2 were paid by an unnamed foundation to help register voters. The 2 defendants pled guilty this summer and have since moved out of state. The scope of the 2-year FBI and state investigation was not previously known.
And it's very significant that they said today it was 13 counties,
between 500 and 600 fake voter registrations, and that's just from 2 of the independent contractors that worked with this group.
The investigation involves scouring hundreds of records.
On guidance from the FBI, the voter registration applications were mailed directly to the election lead, and instructions were shared to use gloves when handling the forms.
In testimony before the committee, Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon says the system designed to catch voter fraud worked.
This is a case about individuals who conspired to submit false voter registration applications. This is not a case about fraudulent votes. And this is ultimately a case of the system working.
How many were in the system is challenged.
Republican Committee Chair Kristen Robbins, who is running for governor, says she has additional concerns that the unnamed foundation that paid the 2 workers is funded by state taxpayer dollars.
99% of their budget comes from state grants. So this is a group that the state is funding and that then went out and did these voter registrations.
Now, the hearing left a lot of people, including us, with a lot of questions that were not answered. One of the big ones, the allegations in a Minnesota voter fraud case that first came to light this summer.
Oh, yes, and it lands in Ilhan Omar's district. This is the question every American should be asking. People like Mandami and Ilhan Omar should not be in our government. This will be the downfall if we continue to allow this. Sassafras posting this.
Have openly. Why do we allow people that are not natural-born citizens of this country to represent the natural-born citizens of this country? Do we think that people that have openly said that their allegiance lies with another country are going to represent you and I and everybody else? That's an absurd thought, and we all know it's not true. So when are we going to wake the fuck up and quit allowing people to come here from other countries who are not citizens to serve in our government and make policy that does not represent the United States taxpayer? When are we going to wake up and fix that? Because that's the actual problem here, and nobody wants to say it. These people do not belong here. When you bring third world people to America, they don't magically convert into American culture. They bring over all the savagery that they have lived with their entire lives here to your backyard. And the reason they're allowed to do that is because people who never have to deal with the consequences of these actions continue to fucking allow it.
Do you agree? Yes or no? Here we have more. Ilhan Omar committed crimes, salty ghostwrite. Ilhan Omar committed crimes including marriage fraud, tax fraud, immigration fraud, student loan fraud, perjury, bigamy, incest, kickbacks, bribery, campaign finance abuse. Who thinks she needs to be denaturalized and deported immediately? What do we have here?
Florida. Also asking Congresswoman Craig to initiate an ethics investigation into Congresswoman Omar because of questions about federal tax fraud, federal immigration fraud, federal student loan fraud, and state violations of perjury, bigamy, kickbacks, and acts of campaign fraud abuse in Boston, Washington, New York, Chicago, and Florida. There are also violations of state ethics or of the Minnesota House ethics rules regarding colleges for speeches she gave while she was in partial control of their budgets as a member of the House Higher Education Finance Committee in both 2017 and 2018. She was found guilty of the violations by the Minnesota Campaign Finance Board 3 weeks ago in order to return those funds on June 6th. Ms. Omar appears to be a serial career criminal and should not have access to our nation's highest secrets and intelligence. That is why I'm calling on our Congresswoman Angie Craig to protect both our national security and our respect of the rule of law. Tax fraud, immigration fraud, student loan fraud, perjury, bigamy, kickbacks, and campaign abuse fraud from the East Coast to the Mississippi River.
Holy cow.
If those charges have been brought, asking Congresswoman Craig.
Oh, yeah. Looks like the circle is tightening. President Trump on Ilhan Omar.
Telling us, frankly, don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
And you talk about denaturalizing.
I'm talking about like Somalia, where you have a congressman goes around telling everybody about our Constitution, and yet she's supposed to
out of our country, President Trump said. We have this. 24 hours ago, Ilhan Omar did marry her brother, Ahmed Noor Said Elmi. The marriage records have been made public, showing she helped him gain citizenship, and that's a crime. Should she be denaturalized and deported back to Somalia? Yes, my friends, we've seen these pictures. We've seen the documents. This is nothing new. But of course, she deflects. She lies. Representative Ilhan Omar says she wants to force Americans to register their guns so that the government can start a buyback program. Paul Zaprulla writes, what she's really saying is she wants to force Americans to be defenseless. Here's a better idea. He says, deport Ilhan.
Be thinking about it. We have more guns in this country than we have humans. So one of the things that's going to be important is to create a registry. So we know where the guns are. We can know when they go into the wrong hands, when they're stolen. And we can actually start a buyback program. I know that some of the Minnesota legislators have had that legislation, and that's something that we should be thinking about on a federal level. We have more guns in this country than we have
She
humans.
wants to buy your guns. She wants to take your guns on top of it all. Oh, yes. It is all collapsing now. But here's where this is headed. See, President Trump has ordered mass denaturalizations of frauds. Special immigrant visas are now paused, asylum adjudications are halted, and the days of identity-shielded criminality are over. And the question is no longer, did Ilhan Omar violate immigration law? The allegation's been public for years. Now, the question now is how long will she keep her seat and her citizenship before the system finally acts? Expel her, denaturalize her, deport her. That is what millions of Americans are demanding, and for the first time, they have an administration that's willing to investigate. The story matters because it proves the rules apply to everyone or they apply to no one. Ilhan Omar allegedly committed crimes that would destroy any ordinary citizen. Marriage fraud, tax fraud, immigration fraud, perjury, and yet she still sits in Congress voting on laws the rest of us must follow. And she lectures Americans about morality while her own district drowns in corruption. She cries racism while allegations of her crimes sit in public records. President Trump has finally said what needed to be said. If she defrauded this country, she's out. No more victim cards, no more excuses, and no more immunity. The American people deserve representatives who love this nation, not ones who allegedly exploited it to get here. So here's my question for you. Should Ilhan Omar be investigated and, if found guilty, deported? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments and grab your Patriot gear at Next News Merch Shop. You'll find it linked in the description. What do you guys think, huh? What do you think? Oh, I think I know what you think. I don't even need to ask the question. I know where you guys stand. And we're moving into, just to be sure, I believe we have, this is wild stuff. Okay, this is what we got here. Okay, we're going to find out what's going on. All right. What if everything happening in America right now is not random? What if the chaos, the attacks, the military defiance rhetoric is all part of a playbook? Tonight, senior officials and intelligence veterans are saying out loud what was once dismissed as conspiracy theory. A color revolution is underway on American soil. The same tactics the CIA used to topple governments overseas are now being deployed against President Trump, and the names behind it are finally being exposed. Now, first, let me explain what a color revolution actually is. It's a regime change operation. The CIA and State Department have used this playbook for decades to overthrow governments in Ukraine, Georgia, Libya, Syria, and beyond. The formula is quite simple. Fund activist networks, control the media narrative, divide the military from its commander, stage provocative incidents, flood the streets with chaos, and install your own people when the dust settles. Senator Eric Schmidt just declared this is exactly what is happening here. He said elected Democrats are using the language of a color revolution, urging sedition, calling on military men to defy the commander-in-chief, threatening prosecution if they ever take power again. You see, that's not politics. That is the textbook pre-phase of regime change. Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, former director of intelligence agency, Defense Intelligence, went further. He went on Steve Bannon's War Room, November 29th. He named the operational commander of the color revolution in America as John Brennan, Obama's CIA director, the architect of the Russia hoax, the man behind the 2020 intel letter that discredited Hunter Biden's laptop. Now, this just in, we have breaking financial news you will not hear from the mainstream press. While the deep state runs its color revolution playbook, the real power players are quietly stacking hard assets. Silver just exploded to new heights, and one company is at the center of it all. AmeriCorps Resources. They trade under AMCOF in the United States and AMCO in Canada. They acquired Nevada's Trinity Silver Project from the mining giant Newmont, and then Newmont took a stake in the deal. 28 million ounces of historical silver data. The stock price is under 25 cents. When shadowy forces try to collapse the system, tangible assets are your defense, and the elites, they know this. And now you do too. You'll get the full details at the link in the description. We thank them for supporting this program. Okay, so we already know about the seditious six, the members of Congress with deep intelligence, NGO, foreign donor ties, who are pushing narratives designed to bait the military into resisting Trump's lawful authority. Senator Mark Kelly co-founded a surveillance balloon company called Worldview that received investment from Tencent, a Chinese Communist Party-linked corporation, in 2013 to 2016. He later placed his stake in a blind trust after winning his Senate seat. Now, he's one of the loudest voices telling troops that Trump's orders are illegal. Representative Alyssa Slotkin is a former CIA analyst embedded in the Obama-era intel networks, and here's the chilling part. Slotkin spoke at the Brookings Institution in late October and warned of being about 2 weeks away from a bloody incident involving the National Guard. Weeks later, 2 guardsmen were shot in D.C., and she framed it as troops shooting civilians, but critics say her words were psychological priming, a hallmark of destabilization operations. And now we have this, Steve Bannon speaking with General Michael Flynn. Is John Brennan involved in the color revolution, Operation Gladio, taking place in the United States?
Make sure that they get it. I do think that Obama is a
United States.
Yeah, I think that right now, when we have to really take a hard look at what happened all the way back to 2016 under Obama, and I think that Obama is still in the mix here. I think the operational commander on the battlefield here in the United States of America is John Brennan. I believe that. I mean, that's my gut. I think that there's enough indicators out there for the types of activities that you look at what John Brennan has said, what he's been talking about. I do think that Obama is a part of the command structure. When we talk about, I'm putting it into military terminology, but I believe that that's part of the command structure. There is an international component to this. I call it the axis of resistance. The axis of resistance essentially consists of communists, both that are emanating from the CCP's control, but also communists inside of our country. I mean, you know, if people don't believe that there's communists in Congress, you know, go look at the way that they voted to get rid of socialism. I mean, what it was, 92 didn't vote against socialism as part of the functioning parts of our government. I mean, so you got communism, you've got Islamism, you've got these narco cartels, these terrorist groups that are also part of this. It's not just Hamas and Hezbollah. It's FARC and it's the Cartel del Sol. I mean, you have a combination of organizations, and there are people that are at the, you know, sort of at the pincer of it, meaning the pointy end of the spear that are organizing and controlling some of this. I mean, all you have to do is read their damn doctrine, which I have. And I want people to understand when we talk about color revolutions, That's what's going on over in Ukraine. That total loser war that I keep talking about. We have to get the hell out of there. We've got it. Trump has got to tell his team, if he wants to stick with this team, it's like you said in the preempt with Jack and his brother. You know, Trump signs all these executive orders. Who's checking to make sure these things are actually being put into effect all the way down to the lowest levels, right? And the one phrase that I used to use as a commander in the military is because, you know, all the lawyers would come in, and I say that lawyers advise, leaders decide. And so President Donald J. Trump, you need to make a decision now. Listen to your lawyers, but make a decision. Get your team, whether it's CIA, DNI, War, you know, Sec State, Sec Commerce, I don't care. Get them all in and tell them, and especially the Secretary of Homeland Security. I mean, I think that Trump felt like all this going on and it was happening. It's not happening. The essence of a color revolution is in this case, for the United States of America, this is a long period of time that this has been going on. They kicked it into higher gear when Trump won in 2016, and then they're balls to the walls right now, you know, in terms of what they're doing, and it's clear. All you got to look at is the components of a color revolution. Go look at the components. I mean, I can list them off here, but it's on my pin post on X right now. Just go look at the components of a color revolution. We are going through all of them. Trump needs to understand that this is not just like he said in one of the clips you showed, this is not some guy who's a loony bin. No, this guy is extremely well trained. He is a soldier of the left. Okay, he is a soldier of the movement to destroy the United States of America. And we have got to start facing the facts. The main actions that we are seeing economic warfare being played against us. We're seeing cyber warfare. I mean, my God, Mike Benz is one of the best to listen to. We have political interference. You know, most people, Steve, don't know about what's called I wrote it down here, the New Virginia Majority, right? There's a name, Tram Nyan, New Virginia Majority. This is a communist movement inside of the United States to make sure that they get as many people that are communists running at the local level, school boards on up, right? And then we have what's called, within the color revolution, you have what's called contrived cultural shifts. And that's this whole Islamification of the United States of America in different places of the country. I mean, we have the problem right here in Florida. I'm down here in Florida right now. It's not just in Florida. It's not just in Dearborn. It's not just in Houston with the Epic City. Steve, this is a creeping like a cancer that is coming into our country. Islam is not compatible with Christianity, and Sharia law is not compatible with constitutional law. We cannot have either.
General Mike Flynn. And you heard him mention his post. We got it pulled up on the screen here. Face the Facts America. We are in the midst of a very serious and very dangerous color revolution. Whenever you hear someone say we must save our democracy, that's their signal to others that they want to destroy our republic, and trust they are intent on doing so. Along with destroying our republic is the removal of those mainstay American values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of our economic prosperity, along with the sanctity of human happiness. These type of revolutionary statements, such as he's a danger to democracy, are the catcalls to the Marxist left to move faster towards achieving their goals of undermining our republic to eventually overthrow our government. Most cannot wrap their minds around this game, which is not a game at all. What is a color revolution? Very sneaky, insidious overthrow of an elected government by clandestine parties under Barack Obama with the support of the socialist left and right warmongers in places like State, the Intel, and Defense, now War Department. There are many inside our government I've been warning about quietly initially and now very publicly. They want to see the American way of life completely change. How? Seize power through rigged election, add layers of bureaucracy along with layers of non-governmental organizations, start or extend wars and conflicts around the world, rob the coffers of our U.S. Treasury to the tune of trillions of U.S. taxpayer dollars, wash and launder the money through foreign nations, in particular financial institutions, and select individual foundations, then rinse and repeat. The deep state is actively involved, this 8 hours ago, in operational color revolution against President Trump and the United States itself after urging sedition and threatening prosecution if they ever take back power. When you expose decades of crime, corruption, and disrupt their illegal cash flows, they come after you. The threat from within needs to be swiftly identified and removed from official duty. Prosecutors, especially activist judges, high-ranking military, and nefarious actors within our Department of War, FBI, and intelligence agencies. What do we have here?
Prosecuted. This is the language of...
For what purpose would you ever deliver this message? As you said, it's to create a color revolution. It is the CIA playbook for trying to foment insurrection from within the military and within the CIA. Look, we saw after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, Jesse, members of the armed forces openly celebrating his murder.
I will point out, though, Harris, one of the crazy things that happened over the weekend, the Democrats, elected Democrats, not some online troll, elected Democrats have been saying it's okay to disobey orders. That's the first step. But what we saw happen this weekend through some of those same elected officials was to say basically to military men and women, look out, you might get prosecuted. This is not the language of we'll beat them in the next election or we'll win the argument. This is the language of a color revolution where you're calling on military men and women to disobey orders, and you put that on top of the firebombing of Tesla dealerships, the riots you see in the streets, the prosecution of a political opponent. The Democrats have completely lost the plot here, and the American people, I think, see that. But it's a very dangerous road to go down here to say you should be disobeying orders because we don't like Trump.
What should happen to the seditious six? Well, they should be held accountable under the law and under the Uniform Code of Military Justice for a seditious conspiracy against the United States of America. For what purpose would you...
Stephen Miller, nailing it yet again. Of course, and the deep state now. It's time. We'd love to see that mugshot in play, right? They gave President Trump a mugshot, didn't they? It's about to go down 24 hours ago. Packing Patriot writes the globalists have been caught red-handed orchestrating a color revolution against the United States. And President Trump is going to stop them.
I hope that... What's up, my friends, family, and fellow patriots? Today is Saturday, November 29th, 2025. It's about 9:49 a.m. Central Standard Time. I am coming to you, even though it's been a minute. This is so important. I hope that you take the time to listen to me here today. This is a warning. We are in the midst of a color revolution. What is a color revolution, first and foremost? It's when a foreign entity or foreign entities infiltrate a government to try to usurp and overthrow that government from within. What we're witnessing right now, stolen elections, the 2020 stolen election where Venezuela is looking like they were involved with using their Smartmatic machines to overthrow our voices and our votes by using algorithms and things that are very hard to decipher. They passed it on to Dominion, which we used here, the Dominion machines. This is something that they did to get Maduro into power, and they're now using this as an export of sorts and have infiltrated 70-some countries with this technology. This is why Trump has 30% of our firepower sitting in the Caribbean right now, about ready to go off against Venezuela. Trump this morning has closed the airspace in Venezuela. This all comes back to that. This isn't just about with Venezuela. This isn't just about them sending fentanyl over here and flooding our borders with Tren de Agua and emptying their prisons. It's much more than that. They have literally infiltrated our elections. And I think that everything's coming to a head right now. This is why...
Everything's coming to a head. Everyone's talking about this right now. CIA front group USAID funded the overthrow of the United States government leading up to the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election. Darren J. Beatty writes, what's unfolding before our eyes on American soil is a very specific type of coup called a color revolution. Real Robert writes, now hunt them down, hunt both Barack Obama and Norm Ellison down, and bring them to justice and face a jury of their peers for the crime of treason.
A little bit more delicate. It's a regime change model. So
this is Darren Beatty. This is back when Tucker Carlson had his show on Fox. That's how long this has been in play, folks.
What's unfolding before our eyes is a very specific type of coup called the color revolution. It's a regime change model favored by many in our national security apparatus, particularly against Eastern European countries, to overthrow, target regimes that they don't like. One model, which is not the color revolution model, is purely sending a bunch of troops into a country and removing by military force a leader you don't like. That's like the Iraq model.
Right.
The color revolution model is a little bit more delicate and subtle. It has several characteristics, but the chief characteristics of it is a combination of an engineered contested elections scenario combined with massive mobilized protests, which they call, as a term of art, peaceful protests and acts of civil disobedience. If that sounds familiar, it gets even better. It's not only the same strategies and tactics used against Trump that's used against Eastern European dictators that our national security apparatus doesn't like. It's literally the same people who are color revolution professionals who have a long history of using these same tactics against foreign leaders they don't like to use against democratically elected President Donald Trump. It's the same people using the very same playbook. Now, I'd like to talk about one of the key figures in this operation, a nexus point not only between color revolutions overseas and the color revolution against Trump, but a nexus point between lawfare and mass mobilization and so-called peaceful protests. This is a man by the name of Norm Eisen. Norm Eisen is a key legal hatchet man, Democrat operative, former Obama ethics czar, believe it or not. And he is also a key architect of nearly every effort to censor, sue, impeach, and overthrow the president. He is the author of, in fact, a color revolution playbook, literally called the playbook. And one of the items he calls for in his playbook to overthrow regimes overseas he doesn't like is engineering election fraud scenarios, using election fraud to engineer mass protests to question the legitimacy of the target leader. Norm Eisen has a long and checkered history going all the way back to his days at Crew, which is a lawfare arm. He's been behind over 180 lawsuits against Trump. He authored 10 articles of impeachment before the president's phone call was even made. He was special counsel to the Democrats for the impeachment process. He was literally involved in every aspect of this color revolution against Trump.
Oh, yeah. They're naming names now. Apparently, this person received a strike on TikTok for posting this video. It was flagged under civic and election integrity, which further supports what my educational video on color revolutions explains.
And they tried to flip a dozen others. The same exact playbook every single time. This is how they do it. 1, they demonize the leader of the people who they actually voted for. 2, they flood the country with chaos like riots, open borders, economic pain. 3, they weaponize the courts, the media, and big tech to finish him off. And 4, they install a puppet who sells the country out to China and the UN. And that's not theory, that's the manual. They opened it on us in the United States the day Donald Trump won in 2016. And here's how they ran it on us step by step. From 2016 to 2020, they gave us the Russia collusion hoax, FBI spying, 2 fake impeachments, Antifa burning cities while CNN called it fiery but mostly peaceful, and the goal was to make you hate the guy you voted for. In 2020, we had 2 a.m. ballot dumps, boarded up windows, 51 intel agents lying about Hunter's laptop, Zuckerberg dropping $400 million to help count votes in Democrat cities. And the goal there was to steal the election while calling you a conspiracy theorist for noticing. From 2021 to 2024, we had Joe Biden opening the border on day 1, 12 million plus illegals, military-age men from China and Venezuela and all over the world, free flights, free hotels, free EBT cards, all on your dime. Cities collapse, crime explodes, schools and hospitals break. The goal, to make Americans feel like strangers in their own country.
They're eating the
Then
dogs.
from 2021 to 2025, 91 felony charges, Mar-a-Lago raided, gag orders, mug shots. They didn't want to just beat Trump. They wanted to break him and every future patriot who dares to run. Look at what they did to Charlie Kirk. That is a textbook color revolution. But on November 5th, 2024, the American people looked this Marxist coup dead in the eye and said, not today. 312 electoral votes, popular vote landslide, the biggest Hispanic and Black Republican turnout ever. We pulled off the greatest peaceful counter-revolution in world history.
Amen, we did. But that's not going to stop them. The CIA is behind everything going on right now. That's what this gentleman says.
From Jericho, the CIA deep state plot to overthrow this great republic, it's already well underway. It started with the seditious six reading their CIA-given script from John Brennan. John Brennan is the one who is running the CIA currently. Because Trump is not in charge of the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ. That's why this shit's all fucked up. And they...
John Brennan, is he involved in the color revolution? People believe so. Amused posting this 24 hours ago. Color Revolution. Mark Kelly took CCP-controlled 10-cent money for his balloon company, hid it in blind trust, and joined seditious six to tell troops to defy Trump. His credibility zero. 10-cent is a Chinese communist company. Chinese Communist Party-controlled company pumped money into Kelly's stratospheric balloon startup Worldview. 2013, 2016. Kelly quietly moved the Chinese investment to a secretive blind trust when he ran for Senate. Now he's part of the seditious six, telling U.S. troops to ignore Trump's lawful orders and warning they could be prosecuted once Democrats are back in control. Critics note the irony: a senator with CCP-linked funding undermines the chain of command of the U.S. military. Mark Kelly took Chinese money for his spy balloon company before joining the seditious six. What do you know? The dots are all connecting themselves. Color Revolution. More. Seditious Six members, Senator Elisa Slotkin, spoke at the Brookings Institute last month, predicting an incident involving National Guard, and she estimated it would take place around 2 weeks from when she spoke.
Hand with his use of force. As a CIA officer, the idea that intelligence officers could be asked to target Americans turns my stomach, and it would shift us into a modern-day surveillance state. Turning the federal government against Trump's enemies goes hand in hand with his use of force in American cities, both federal law enforcement and the military. As of today, the president has attempted to deploy more than 7,000 National Guard members across 5 cities, including right here in Washington. In August, the administration ordered the creation of 2 new National Guard units, a standing quick reaction force that can deploy anywhere in the country, and then separately, National Guard units in all 50 states focused on quelling so-called civil disturbances. At this point, Trump has been very clear about his intent. At Quantico, speaking as commander-in-chief, he instructed his military brass to use cities as, quote, training grounds. And many times, he's floated the idea of invoking the Insurrection Act so that military units can raid, detain, and arrest Americans. The president has already deployed ICE and other federal law enforcement to these same cities across America. In some cases, these federal officers are playing fast and loose with their tactics, which sooner or later could lead to a deadly escalation. The videos out of Chicago are shocking. Federal agents pulling their weapons on highways, firing tear gas into neighborhoods right before a Halloween parade, injuring and even killing civilians. Many are masked, not wearing uniforms, and driving unmarked cars. For those of us who served abroad, it feels like another country. And it's only a matter of time before things get worse. By my estimation, we're about 2 weeks away from a bloody incident that spirals out of control. And this is just the kind of incident that Trump wants to justify more force coming in.
Wow. Talk about projecting the plan. And now we have a National Guard specialist shot and killed outside of the White House the day before Thanksgiving. One still fighting for his life. The evidence is mounting faster than they can hide it, folks. Former intel officials pressuring the military. Elected Democrats threatening prosecution for following Trump. CIA-linked NGOs resurfacing in domestic political operations. CCP funding politicians driving the narrative. USAID networks tied to 2020 reappearing. Obama-era figures suddenly reactivated coordinating messaging. This is not paranoia. This is the largest coordinated anti-American intelligence operation in modern history. And the target is not a policy, not a party, and not a politician. The target is the American Republic itself. You're not witnessing politics. You are witnessing a regime change operation aimed at removing President Trump and collapsing constitutional order. Now, the story matters because it names what is happening. For years, Americans watched their institutions weaponized against them and were told they were crazy. They watched elections questioned and were called conspiracy theorists. They watched intelligence agencies lie and were told to trust the experts. No more. Senator Schmidt is calling it sedition. General Flynn is naming the commander. Investigators are tracing the money. The color revolution is not coming. It's actually here. It's active, and the only thing standing between it and success is an informed American public that refuses to be fooled. The CIA used these tactics to topple governments in Ukraine, Libya, Syria, and dozens of other nations. Now they've turned the playbook inward. The question is simple. Will Americans recognize the operation in time to stop it? My question for you: should John Brennan be investigated for his role in this alleged coup? Yes or no? Answer in the comments. You can support the mission at the Next News merch shop, link below. Wow. There you have it, folks. There you have it. Here we are. Let's bring it all together now, because what we just covered is not 5 separate stories. It's really just one story. The story of a nation under siege from within. We started with the Biden-era time bomb that exploded just weeks from the White House. Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, murdered by an Afghan national who should never have set foot on American soil. Brought here by Joe Biden through Operation Allies Welcome in September of 2021. Housed here by refugee networks. And we decided to carry out a targeted attack on our National Guard. One young woman paid the ultimate price. That's the legacy of Biden's open door policy: dead Americans and a government that refuses to admit what it did. Then we exposed the global flood that Biden unleashed on our country. Over 7,000 criminal aliens protected in New York City alone, 78 Somali nationals charged in Minnesota fraud schemes, Afghan terrorists plotting attacks from coast to coast, Venezuelan narco networks poisoning our children. It's not incompetence. That was policy, and President Trump is finally shutting it all down. Then we turn to Minnesota, where Tampon Tim Walz is watching his political career collapse in real time. Billions stolen, whistleblowers silenced, investigators blocked, and taxpayer money potentially flowing to Al-Shabaab terrorists. His own employees are turning on him. 22 million people have seen the accusations, and Kamala Harris wanted this man to be vice president. Let that sink in for a moment. Then came President Trump's explosive statement on Ilhan Omar. He said that, well, what needed to be said: if she married her brother to commit immigration fraud, then throw her out. The documents have been public for years, and the allegations are serious. And for the first time, there is an administration that's willing to investigate. No more victim cards, no more excuses, and no more immunity. And then we close with the most dangerous story of all: a color revolution active on American soil. The CIA playbook used to topple foreign governments, now aimed at President Trump. John Brennan identified as the operational commander by General Flynn. The seditious six urging military defiance, at least lock in warning of National Guard incidents weeks before it happened. It's not conspiracy. It's a coordinated regime change, and the American people are the last line of defense. So if you found value in tonight's broadcast, do me a favor. Tell a friend about the show. Share the link. Get the word out. The mainstream media will never tell these stories. They will never connect these dots, but we will. If you want to support what we do, hit the Next News merch shop. It's linked in the description, because every purchase keeps independent journalism alive. I want to thank everybody who sent in super chats and Rumble rants tonight. You guys keep this operation running. Your generosity does not go unnoticed. So thank you for joining us tonight on the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi. We'll see you all on the next show, so stay free, America. We'll see you tomorrow.